All right. Hey, everybody. We're live Monday night, 7 Central on Facebook and YouTube. And for my son's sake, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, as he always says, Dad, how many do you got subscribed on YouTube? Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're doing a lot more like how-tos and stuff on there. Again, it's Monday night. We got a huge special guest on. Someone that I've actually known of since I got into the sport. Most of you have heard of Jeff Williams, so we're going to bring him on here in just a second. Talk about a few things we got going on. It's going to be a good night, so I feel a lot better than I did last Monday too. Sorry, Tyler Barnes. I'm going to play a quick video to kind of get us pumped up. Let a few people jump on, and it's our last season's Keystone Lake, Oklahoma video to kind of get everybody pumped up again, because we're going to be in Oklahoma in 2 weeks, so really pumped about that. So take a look at this video, and then we'll get tonight started.
Awesome place, our first time in Oklahoma. We're definitely first time at Keystone Lake. 27 teams from all over. A lot of them had to come here, had to catch some fish, and they did
that. Hey everybody, we're here at Keystone Lake here in Manford, Oklahoma. This is a beautiful lake, big lake, clear water, lots of fish. We haven't seen a lot of big fish this week pre-fishing, but I think we're going to see some tournament day. Really excited for it. Everything about this event is awesome. We are here at the Harbor Grill. It's a really cool place. We got food, drinks, fuel. You can dock up. Everything will be out of the Harbor Grill. So again, our captain's meeting will be Friday night. We're going to have everybody come, hang out, shoot bags, have some fun. Saturday morning, we're going to take off out of Harbor Grill. And then Saturday afternoon, we're going to have the weigh-in right there at Harbor Grill. 5 fish limit, 2 over 30, 3 under 30.
There's a solid one. That's what all there. 7.
We're really excited to welcome Twisted Cat Outdoors to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to Keystone Lake. We've got a beautiful day today and an awesome lake. It is one of Oklahoma's largest lakes. A lot of rock on the bottom, a lot of big cat out there. I think the anglers are having a really good time. This lake was really built for machines like the Sea Ark, having those big tanks, catching some big pigs out there today. It's going to be fun to see what the anglers come back with.
Code right here. We'll probably have the weigh-in done by then, but again, today was a 5 fish limit. Each team was allowed 2 over and 3 under, so 2 over 30 and 3 under 30. .20 pounds for 6 fish. 59 over 59.08.
We're going to measure all the fish with the Parks ruler. It's a certified ruler, and again, it's very consistent. You want to make sure that we don't have to disqualify anybody. There's several anglers here that need every point they can get. So if an angler's out there and they're chasing points, they don't even want to be close to that 30. So it'll be interesting to see with these 27 teams if anybody gets disqualified. I hope not, but you never know. It's competitive catfishing, and the sport is on fire. It's really growing fast, so we're really excited to see it. We also had an on the water live today. We had 3 boats from the tournament. They were on live with us with Glenn Thomas and the ACA. That was really fun. We did a 4-hour segment on that. That's something we're going to continue to do with Twisted Cat Outdoors, and we got some really fun stuff I can't even tell you about, but just wait in a few months what we got coming for you.
Andy Allen and Kevin McCoy, $1,080 for 3rd place with 58.30. They also had our $500 Castaway Customs Big Fish, 59.08. Brian St. Anna, Koya Sneed, $1,800, 63.74. Lance and Tyson, Lucky, Dominic, Pellegrino, $3,600. First place. It's an awesome place, our first time in Oklahoma. Or definitely our first time at Keystone Lake. 27 teams from all over. A lot of them had to come here, had to catch some fish, and they did that.
excited. That video gets me pumped up. Again, like I said, we're going to be at Grand Lake of the Cherokees in Grove, Oklahoma, February 3rd. We're just 2 weeks away. So a lot of things going for the 2024 season. We just had our first event at Lake of the Ozarks. Again, we got a lot of things coming this year. And Grand Lake is going to be a fun time. Really pumped about it. And we got a special guest that's from Grand Lake and is going to give us some insight on a little bit of history of the lake, a little bit of what he's got going on and what he's had going on. And like I said, this is my first time to actually have him on a podcast. So this will be fun. So everybody welcome Mr. Jeff Williams.
Hey everybody, that was a really cool video, Alex. I had never seen that before, and that is a great fishery over there at Keystone.
Yeah, no, it was a blast. It was our first time. We actually hit it a little early. We were in there, I think the third weekend of September. So I think the lake was turning over, and we didn't see a lot of big fish, but people caught a lot of fish. And the logistics of the lake, with the harbor grill and all that was really fun. So I mean, overall, we had a great turnout, and everybody had a great time. So we're going back there, but we kicked it back to about a month later. So we're hoping to get some bigger fish there. Talking to some of the anglers that fish there regular, they're pretty excited about that. So like I said, I told you earlier, we got Kerr Reservoir, Grand Lake of the Cherokees, and Keystone. So 3 lakes in Oklahoma. We got a lot going on in Oklahoma. I'm excited.
It's truly amazing. I've lived here a long time. My grandparents bought a place here on Monkey Island in the 50s. So I've been right here in the middle of Grand Lake pretty much my entire life. But between Broken Bow and Texoma and Weber's Falls and Kerr and Keystone and Grand Lake and Hudson, Fort Gibson, the Arkansas River, the Cimarron River, Caw. It is an endless supply of places to go fish. And we do have a lot of reservoir fishing here. We don't have that solid, consistent river that runs, current every single day like the Mississippi River does, in the lower part of the Mississippi and the Missouri River. But you get a blend of fishing here between giant reservoirs, small creeks, fish tail races, and you do get a chance to fish the Arkansas River when they're running water. You should get a chance to go through the lock and the dam and experience all of it. So there's a lot of blue cats here, and there's a lot of catfish anglers.
Yeah, no, that's what I've come to find out. I've actually got a few anglers that consistently follow the trail, to the Mississippi River from Oklahoma, like JT Ray. And, now that I've had an event there and I've kind of been looking at some of these other places that we're going in 24, there's so much water. I went to Keystone Lake last year, and I had to go to Lake Ouachita, Arkansas. And from Keystone to Ouachita, it was water everywhere. And that's kind of where I learned where Fort Smith was and Kerr Reservoir, and kind of talking to some other anglers. So, it's putting 3 total events on for 2024. And like I said, there's so much water, and a lot of it I hear is really good. So I'm pretty pumped, especially in Grove, Grand Lake of the Cherokees, like the Wolf Creek ramp. After seeing that, that's probably the nicest ramp I've ever been at.
Yeah, it was built for BASS finals, Bassmaster Classic. We've had a lot of FLW and BASS events here. Grand Lake is a wonderful fishery, not just for catfish, but it's also a wonderful fishery for white bass, obviously black bass, blue cats, channel cats, Kentucky bass. We've got a nice hybrid striper fishery that it's emerging here. And this is actually one of the best places, if not the best place, in the entire United States for people that want to try to snag paddlefish. And we got a paddlefish fishery here that is just second to none. We have people that come from all over the United States to fish with our guides here that take people. And these guys are getting to the point to where they've just about turned this into a year-round type of fishery with the techniques and patterns that they have. In Oklahoma, you're allowed to snag paddlefish year-round, but you have only so many fish you can keep per day. And you actually have to buy a permit, like a deer hunting permit or a permit. You have to buy a permit to snag paddlefish, and that allows you to, you know, keep so many fish.
Yeah,
But
that's believe it or not, I've never done that. I've been saying that this is the year I'm going to do it. So hopefully I can get out there and try it. And you know, I know Rusty Pritchard's doing it over there, and Tommy Vaughn. I know those two guys. Like I said, I don't know. I need to do it. Everybody says it's a blast. You got to do it once. So
yeah,
it's on my
everybody needs to try it. My son Hayden Williams Guide Services has been guiding here for the last 3 years. He just got done on a trip. They caught 21 fish day before yesterday. So, I
Wow.
mean, so you think about that. I mean, people are used to going to Lake of the Ozarks, and they'll go to Truman Lake, and they'll go to, you know, the Kentucky River, and they'll go to these places, and they might catch 21 fish in 10 years. Where, you know, these guides that we have here at this lake and the amount of fish that we have this lake, you know, they've really pioneered some outstanding strategies to go out and catch these fish. Even back from when I was guiding, you know, I was just learning how to do the power trolling technique years ago when I was guiding here on the lake. And you know, if you haven't ever done it before, it's worth coming and seeing. There's a lot of people that are gonna that grit their teeth a little bit because, you know, it is snagging. You're not actually getting the fish to bite anything, but they don't eat anything but zooplankton. So the only opportunity that you have to catch them is, you know, to drive a hook in them. And when you think about, you know, Grand Lake is 60,000 acres, 1,300 miles of shoreline. And for you to go out there and drag a 10-aught barbless treble hook through the miles of water and actually able to run into a fish, collide with it, and get it in the boat, I tell you, these guys got it figured out.
Yeah, it seems like it's always, you know, I've been watching a lot of videos, and especially like you said, the techniques that have changed from, are some of them using live scope too?
Yeah, yeah. That we don't do as much live scoping here as the guys do over at Keystone. The fish are bigger over at Keystone, but they don't have the numbers of fish. And they're targeting the fish with live scope, but it's more of a one-on-one. You know, usually on a guide trip around here, like the other day, when my son had caught 21 fish, they put out enough legal rods and they troll with those rods. So at any time, maybe one or two rods can go down. So your clients are sitting there and they can run out and grab the rod and fight the fish when they hook him. With the live scope technique, you know, you've got a guide up on the front of the boat. He's running the trolling motor. He's staying right on the fish. And then a lot of times they're pitching out and hooking the fish, and then they're giving the rod to the guy. Because there's a lot of clients that go that don't have the hand-eye coordination. They don't understand how fast the hook is going to sink. That, you know, there's just a whole lot to that live scope that it would be really hard for an inexperienced angler to go in and do that. But the fish are bigger over at Keystone, but we've just got a lot more of them. And we don't see very many fish in this lake, you know, over 70, 80 pounds. There's some. Well, Keystone, you can crack the 100-pound mark pretty easy over there, but you just don't catch as many.
Huh. What do you think on catfish? So we just had our tournament at Lake of the Ozarks.
Mm-hmm.
Had a pretty good weigh-in. Almost hit 100 pounds with, you know, we have the slot at Lake of the Ozarks at 26 to 34. So we had 2 overs, 3 unders. What are your thoughts of Grand this time of year, with it being a 5 fish, 2 over, 3 under?
This time of the year sometimes can get just a little dicey because of the shad kill. You're going to find out, you know, if you thought there was a lot of shad at Lake of the Ozarks, wait till you get here. You're going to be going, you're going to be tapping on your fish finder going, holy cow, that can't be right. I mean, that's just a false bottom, and you just keep driving over it and over and over. But this lake has got that many shad, and we have threadfin shad, we have gizzard shad. And when we have a really nasty shad kill, sometimes it can make the fishing, you know, it can make it a little bit tough. But then at the other times, if you can catch it right at the very beginning, you know, for the first few weeks when that shad kill's going on, boy, they're just ripping things apart. I mean, trying to get to trying to get fed up on all the shad that are going into thermal shock. So we don't have a lot of fish in Grand Lake, over that 70-pound mark, but we've got a lot of fish from that 8-pound to 35-pound range. It won't surprise me a bit if somebody doesn't drag a 50 or 60-pound fish in. But Grand Lake historically is not known for a lake that produces a lot of, behemoth type size fish like you would get it at Texoma. Again, where you don't have as many fish, but you have, a lot bigger fish historically. And that's something that, all the traveling that I've done all around the country, I traveled a lot fishing catfish tournaments years ago, traveled a lot for fun. And, a lot of times what I saw was different bodies of water where a lot of times your bait fish were proportional with the size of the fish that you are actually catching in these reservoirs. And you go to places that have skipjack and 12 and 13-inch gizzard shad and moon eye. A lot of times the overall top end, especially on blue cats and flatheads, was always larger in those reservoirs and rivers than it was in a place like Grand Lake, where there's not a whole lot of gizzard shad in this lake over 6-8 inches long. A lot of them are 6 inches long, but we got lots of them and we got lots of fish. So this is a kind of a fish factory. You're going to get bit. If we're not in a nasty shad kill here, you're absolutely going to get bit. You're going to catch a lot of fish. The fishing's going to be very similar to Lake of the Ozarks. There's a lot of deep water ledges. The old Grand River Channel runs through the lake. The upper end of the lake shallow and muddy, and the deep end, the south end of the lake's deep structure. And don't be afraid to fish in 100 foot of water here, and don't be afraid to fish in 3 foot of water if you're up in them shallows and you're getting some shad, winter kill shad blown up in the shallows. So it's fishing.
So you think? So we had our 3 big fish. We had 3 fish over 40 pounds at Lake of the Ozarks. That was New Year's Eve weekend. So you think Grand can outdo that?
3 fish over 40 pounds?
Yeah, that was our 3 biggest fish was just over 40. I think our big fish was 44.
I think Grand can overdo it. I don't know if it will, but they're very similar. Very, very similar. I think you're going to see a lot of the same size fish that you saw at Lake of the Ozarks that you'll see at Grand.
Okay. And then Kerr is another one that we're going to. Have you fished the Kerr Reservoir?
I have fished the Kerr Reservoir years ago. I fished with Chris Taylor a little bit. I fished with an old friend of mine, Big Sam, Johnny Key. I fished it with those guys. But that's one of those lakes that on the Arkansas River that you just got to drive by so much other water for me just to get to that place. But I think that it's probably one of the best, if not the best place, besides maybe Texoma in the state for big fish.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple guys that have fished there, and they were pretty excited about Kerr. And I got to go on it just for a few hours. It was a terrible day, rough and windy and raining a little bit, but we caught a ton of fish, nothing big, but I've heard there's some big fish. And talking with some of the wildlife, because that tournament's going to be very unique because Fort Smith is the one that really wants to have the event. So it'll be out of actually Fort Smith, Arkansas, at their bakery district, which is a really cool setup downtown Fort Smith. So, we'll check our live wells there. You're able to go to the Kerr Reservoir or the river system if you don't want to go on the lake. And then we're weighing in downtown Fort Smith. So, working with both states to get that approved is kind of a big deal. But it's almost, actually, I should have everything finalized tomorrow. But if that works, it'd be pretty cool. We'll have fish haulers that will take the fish back to the river and the lake with the logistics of that all dialed in. But I'm excited. I think that'll be a big fish factory tournament, as they say. So we'll see. For sure.
I think you guys are going to have a great time at Grand Lake. The accommodations here are tremendous. The people in the Grand Lake area, they love tournaments. They love anglers, and they love They understand that this is an economic impact to our area. I didn't really elaborate very much on that on the Wolf Creek Park, but you're going to be hard pressed to ever find any place to have a better tournament than Wolf Creek Park at Grand Lake. And I know there'll probably be some good stuff too down at Fort Smith, but I haven't spent as much time fishing in that area, obviously, as I have here on my home lake. And y'all are going to have a good time here. You're going to have a good place to eat. You're going to have friendly people and good places to stay, and it's going to be a good event.
Yeah, like I said, we use Decatur, Alabama, Ingalls Harbor, which has got a nice setup, but you can't compare it to Wolf Creek. I mean, they built that for tournaments, with the lighted lanes. And it's just everything about it set up how it's in a cove, and just, everybody there is really wanting to help. And I think they're going to have some golf carts that morning. And Brent Malone also kind of showed me like what the next step is, what they're looking to build. So it's awesome. So the anglers that are really going to enjoy it. Like I said, there's a lot of unique places to stay. Actually, the Anglers Inn, I think, is just right next to the Wolf Creek right there. I think that's where I'm staying, but there's a lot of cool places that are set up for tournaments. There was another place, I'm sure it's sold out, where you drive through and your boat's underneath shelter and you got the plugins and everything right there. So
yeah, this place is set up for tournament fishermen. You got to think that, the catfish tournaments are really growing. Man, they've grown tremendously since I first started fishing catfish tournaments years ago. But this is world class type of. You're just not going to go anywhere and find the accommodations, the people, the local people, and the accommodations, the restaurants, and everything it takes to support the biggest catfish tournament you could ever bring over here. Wouldn't be too big for this facility. So it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up just a picture of it. Let's see if I can share. Because it's just like I said, until you see it in person, it's just unbelievable how.
Well, the Bassmasters Classic's a big deal.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I mean this just is just a and this doesn't with the boats out there, but I mean you can see both parking lots. It is just massive. It's got tons of lanes, tons of courtesy docks, and for catfish tournaments, usually we're on the Mississippi River in Missouri where you don't have a dock at all. So I mean, you can put in a lot of boats here quick. You got the shelter house with internet, so we're really excited. And Brent's been awesome to work with. I'm trying to get down there here in the next few days to kind of figure out where we're doing our captain's meeting and all that stuff. But like I said, we're really rolling in Oklahoma and pumped about it.
Yeah, that whole upper area is parking too. So you could literally bring a catfish conference here, or you could bring a trade show here, or you could bring whatever you want. Now there's the drag boat races that we have at Wolf Creek every year. So the city did a fantastic job putting this together. The first Bassmasters Classic that was here was a huge deal, but we have a lot of bass tournaments on Grand besides the ultra big tournaments, and that park is utilized a lot. It's utilized from the time the tournaments start in the spring to they kind of slow down a little bit in the heat of summer, and then they pick up a little bit in the fall. But boy, I tell you what, in springtime they are really running a lot of people out of there.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. So if I'm a new angler, never been to Grand, and I'm coming there, like what are two things you say, hey, you gotta go, it's gotta go to this restaurant? What are two things you gotta do to get that Grand Lake experience? Granted, it's in February too. It's February 3rd.
Yeah. There's some well, it seems like every place in Oklahoma is blessed with a lot of good Mexican places to eat. So we've got good Mexican food. There's a place down by Sailboat Bridge called the Regatta that is locally owned. Some friends of ours have that. They've got tremendous food. If you can get in there, you might want to make reservations. They've got a restaurant on top called The Boom for hot wings and pizzas and stuff like that. So if you've never just driven over Sailboat Bridge, you need to go up on the the north end of Grove and go over Sailboat Bridge. The regattas right in that area. You got downtown Grove where you have your Walmart, your Rib Crib, your Arby's, your Dairy Queen, and then there's just some local restaurants all the way really from from Sailboat Bridge all the way back into Grove. But that would, I live over here at Shangri-La in the middle of kind of the end of Monkey Island, the middle of Grand Lake. We've got some really good restaurants over here in the evening. Doc's Bar and Grill at Shangri-La Resort is good. We've got a long old restaurant here that's been here for a long time called the Shebang. That a lot of bass anglers come in and eat. So, those would be some local places that are a little bit different than your standard restaurant that you find about anywhere you go.
Nolan said the Chinese buffet is pretty amazing, so I'm not sure which Chinese buffet he's talking about, but
I think there's only one. So,
Chris White says, how much ice is still on the lake now? Have you, is it kind of, I know you were getting some ice. Is it getting better yet, or?
Yeah, it is getting better, but we still haven't had enough sun or wind to really break it up. The ramp at Martin's Landing is frozen. I don't know about Wolf Creek. I don't know if the back of Wolf Creek is frozen. I know at Shangri-La in the middle of the lake, that ramp at the marina was frozen. My son was putting in on the gravel ramp over there, be on the west side of Shangri-La. And then they're putting in at a ramp over there at the regatta where I was talking about at the restaurant. But there are still coves that have ice in them. I think as we move through this week, I'm seeing some high 40s, 50s, some sunny weather. So unless we get another really crazy cold snap before, your tournament in a couple weeks, I think you guys are going to be fine on boat ramps.
You think this cold snap has created a shad kill already?
I live right here on the lake. I can look out at the lake right now, and I'm not seeing any gulls diving, which is a really good sign. Usually what happens is when we get a really, really bad cold front this time of year, if you get a lot of wind, and we had wind, but the wind will churn the water. Okay, so for every top action, there's a bottom reaction. So these reservoirs will churn. It's like sitting in the bathtub and you push the water over the top and the water goes to the end of the bathtub and it comes back the other way. So these big reservoirs, they just sit here and churn like a hamster cage, and it'll just churn that cold air right into the reservoir. And that's when you get those like 4 and 5 days of just brutal north wind. It churns a lot of that cold air and it churns it in really fast. And a lot of those fish just can't react. The dissolved oxygen layer or whatever it is that gets them, where they have to be, or where they're comfortable. And, it just kills them. But I'm not seeing any gulls dying. And I have a fishing reports page here. That's 18,000 members, I think. I shared your link over called grandfishingreport.com. We would love to have you guys participate at grandfishingreport.com with your tournament. There's a lot of people that are going to be on there that want to know what's going on with the catfishermen. I got a lot of catfish anglers on grandfishingreport.com. So, anyway, I'm not seeing anything there. The Facebook group is what has like 18,000 followers or members right now. And then we've got a website. The website has just been redone. That's the Facebook group right there. There's about 18,000 people. Most of the people that contribute to grandfishingreport.com are fishing guides. We've got a lot of people. That was a picture I posted the other night. That was the upper end of the lake, Sailboat Bridge area up at Twin Bridges. I'm sorry, Twin Bridges, not Sailboat Bridge. But there you can see that's my son's guide trip right there. that trip I was talking about with the paddlefish that they caught over the weekend. So,
Yeah, it'd be a good group to join there.
yeah,
Unless some
join
people
it.
jump on there for sure now.
Yeah, join it and share. I shared your information there the other day. We got a small Facebook page, business page to go along with that, and then I've got a website, the grandfishingreport.com website that we just redid, and it's starting to kind of climb up there in the search engine listings a little bit. Really interesting. We had some old guy here run around for years. His name was Lee Jeffries. And I also do the KGVE Grand Lake Radio report every Thursday. I do my own little audio recording on my phone and I email it in. And I do about a 5 to 8 minute long report. It goes to KGVE 99.3. And then that report goes out, and that's the Grand Lake Fishing Report that's been here. I don't even know how long that it was going on before I can really remember, but I took over that from Lee Jeffrey. And then there was a guide here on the lake that fished for years and years. His name was Ivan Martin, and he had a resort at the entrance of Monkey Island called Martin's Landing. And Ivan passed on the grandfishingreport.com URL to me, and I've maintained that for a tradition. I don't really make any money with it, or it's just something that I kind of do to keep things relevant here around the shores of Grand Lake. We've got a few sponsors like the GRDA and a few other people will sponsor, but it's just a great place for local people to come, gather up some fishing information. Not a lot of contributors, but a lot of readers.
Yeah. Even the Facebook page is nice. It's got a lot of good stuff on there.
Thank you.
It's all about good information. You know what I mean? If you're looking for that shad or where the fish are biting at, that day. So,
yeah.
Okay. So Jeff, let's get into how you got started. Give us a little bit of history of how you got into catfishing. And, I got a couple anglers that still use some rods that you created years ago. So give us a little bit of history on that.
Well, that you gotta wind back quite a ways there with that question. I've always loved to catfish. Okay. I think I told you that my grandparents had bought a place here in the 50s, and my grandma loved to fish, and she would take me down and we would fish off of the dock when I was growing up. And we didn't have anything to speak of. I had about 3 or 4 old tackle boxes full of stuff that most of it didn't work. I had a bunch of old rods and reels that I had to cobble together to get something to fish with. And it just seemed like one of the easiest things to fish for was catfish when you're down there on that dock, catfish and crappie. So that's what I really grew up fishing for. I did bass and crappie, and I've guided for hybrid stripers and all this other stuff too. But I probably became a catfish angler at a really young age. And at that point in time, we didn't have blue catfish in Grand Lake. They've only been in this reservoir here since the mid 90s. So they weren't impounded when the lake was impounded here. So, I started out there. I started guiding on the lake about the same age as my son, 18, 19 years old. I bought my first Procraft bass boat when I was 19 years old. And I started guiding for Ivan Martin out of Martin's Landing and Shangri-La Resort. I guided on white bass trips, corporate trips, a lot of, there'd be a lot of 150, 200 guide boat types of trips go out of Shangri-La Resort, at that point in time. And, man, I just continued to go down that path guiding. I ended up being a pipe fitter. I served 5 years of apprenticeship in Joplin Missouri Plumbers and Pipe Fitters local union, and then I ended up getting transferred out of Springfield, Missouri, before I finally got started with my own business. But I guess in about the early 2000s, the blue catfish had maybe been in the lake about 5 to 10 years, something like that. We don't really know when they were in here, but we started catching some 20 and 25 and 30-pound fish. And I started getting some notoriety for some blue catfish techniques that were really unique compared to what people had seen and done at that point in time. Man, I'll tell you, there's a lot of water under the bridge between when I started blue catfishing in the late 90s and, the first part of 2000 to compared to where we are today. It's really amazing the transformation that's happened in the catfish industry. So, I there were some magazine articles. I did some television shows with in fishermen, some articles within fishermen, the American Outdoorsman, O'Neill Outdoors, Kansas City Star, Tulsa World, Oklahoma, and the Wichita Eagle. There was people that were coming from all over the place to catch reservoir blue catfish here in Oklahoma, because this was a new deal. I mean, people take this for granted. Like, now it's just commonplace. But when I was starting out doing this, people were looking at me. They would see me driving around in my boat and they, what kind of wild, nutty looking rig is that thing? I mean, people had no idea what was going on. So I got the notoriety, and then I started to branch out and I started fishing catfish tournaments. I wanted to learn more about blue catfish, and I thought I was a good enough angler that I wanted to go out and see the Mississippi River and compete on the Missouri River and go east to where, blue catfish had historically been. So I went and I fished some tournaments, did some, that time, Ken Freeman was running Big Cat Quest, and let's see, the King Cat was going on, the World Series of Catfishing was going on at gosh, Keys, what is the name of that lake over there? Anyway, I can't remember the name of it. Did some tournaments, over there on Wheeler, Wilson, Pickwick,
Yeah.
and I never did, really win any of those events over there. I came in the money a few times, and I was always dangerous, but I always felt like the local anglers there had a lot better opportunity to get bait ahead of us. We didn't know anything about skipjack. We would try to bring frozen bait over here, and then we have to fish with these guys that had to, knew where to go get skipjack every day. So we would spend a lot of our pre-fishing time hunting bait, hunting skipjack. And I ended up moving up to Lake of the Ozarks, and in this time, have a young family, moved up to Lake of the Ozarks, was doing some guiding up there. A lot of my pipe fitter work was in St. Louis, Columbia, and Kansas City. So I moved up to Lake of the Ozarks, ran a guide service up there for 3 years, didn't have hardly any work as a pipe fitter. I was fishing close to 200 days a year for those 3 years. And anyway, in all the meantime, I had some sponsors. I was sponsored by Bass Pro and Kenner, TTI, Blakemore, Loki Nets, several companies. I can't remember all right. I've had some local companies, tire shops, and, whatever, kind of helping me out. So I met a lot of people at Lake of the Ozarks, and I met a lot of people in those catfish tournaments. I won some of the catfish tournaments at Lake of the Ozarks. Did some more television shows at Lake of the Ozarks. Lake of the Ozarks is a wonderful place for getting notoriety. They've got a tremendous visitors and convention bureau there that brought in outdoor riders. Every year I would have different outdoor riders in the boat with me for 3 days, and we would catfish, reinforce some relationships with in fishermen on those trips. And, I started looking around the catfish industry, and I saw Magic Bait, and I saw Zebco had a big cat, and then I saw this company had this catfish thing, and this company, they had that catfish thing. And I was just like, you know what? Somebody needs to build a brand of catfishing products that would rival like a Strike King type of brand in the catfish world. I said, these catfish anglers deserve this. And, at that point in time, I'll tell you a little story. I kind of jump around all over the place, but this was in 2007, 2008, 2007. We went to ICAST, and I was with Wes Campbell at TTI Blakemore, had TJ Stallings there with me, Wes Campbell, Ron Stallings, Steve Campbell, Kerry Campbell, and Wes was one of my sponsors that was with TTI Blakemore, which for the years sold the Team Catfish terminal tackle and Team Catfish hooks. They've always had Daiichi hooks. And, I had went to Wes Campbell in 2006 or so, and I said, or actually went to TJ Stallings, his director of marketing at the time. And I said, you know what? I'm using these Daiichi hooks. I'm using these hooks to catch catfish with. But I tell people that these are catfish hooks, and they look at me like, well, these are saltwater hooks. And I said, why don't we take these hooks and why don't we put them into a catfish brand, and I'll do all the promotions in the catfish brand. You guys, do the hooks and manufacture the hooks and take care of the sales. I'll do the marketing. So anyway, we started this relationship, and we crossed over, I think, 16 different, I don't know. There was out of the 16 different SKUs, there was probably 10 to 12 of them that were existing Daiichi type hooks that we crossed over into Team Catfish. And then I came up with the glow wraps and the sinker bumper, and nobody had ever seen a sinker slide in the catfish world before. That was just like, when people saw that thing. So we had all this stuff, and we went to ICAST, and I remember I had this little bitty booth, a little bitty space on this big wall in this booth, and they were selling, Blakemore and Roadrunner and, all these big brands are in this booth. And Wes comes over and he says, I'll never forget it as long as I live. Wes, and he was the owner, CEO. He comes over and he says, Jeff, he said, the owner of Dick's Sporting Goods is coming by here in about 15 minutes. He said, don't talk too much. Just tell him what this stuff is. I'm going to nod at you. Shut up. And he's going to go on down. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm like, okay. So here I am. I'm sitting here with my Team Catfish shirt on, and I've got my little booth. I got my little stuff. And the guy's named Doug Gunning came by the booth, and he heard me talk about it. I was telling him about what this hook, double action hook did, and the jackhammer hook did, and this hook did. And he looked at me and he said, finally, somebody finally did it. They finally built a brand that has catfish on it that my associates can walk somebody over that's interested in a catfish hook, and they can take them right here to this brand called Team Catfish, and they can say, that's your stuff right there. So that was a huge deal. We went into 400 something Dick's stores at that point in time. And it really reinforced my vision and what I wanted to do with Team Catfish. But at that same show, I got laughed at. I got laughed at and laughed at and laughed at. Nobody's going to pay $3 for 3 catfish hooks. Woo-hoo! Ha! So they would almost slapping their leg at me. So I had a lot of mixed emotions at that point in time about what I was doing, but making that big pop with Dick's and watching TTI send out 400 or 500 of those, those Team Catfish metal hook displays that was what was going on there, in the very beginning. And then I started building products like Secret 7 catfish bait, sudden impact catfish bait. I started building rods. I dabbled around with line. We did the glow wraps. We continued to expand out with some apparel. The apparel was always really popular. The hats and the hoodies and all of that stuff was always real popular. and we moved into Amazon, and then ultimately I ended up expanding out into a lot of other brands besides what I did with Team Catfish. But Team Catfish was always the biggest brand that I had developed while I had outdoor brands, and that's kind of how I got started. So that's quite a story. That's the 30,000-foot view, but and to circle it all the way around, in 2017, I was approached by a company that wanted to be a partner with me. They wanted to acquire the intellectual property, all the intellectual property that I'd produced, not just Team Catfish. And this was a larger sporting goods company here in Oklahoma. So I sold it to them. And then I continued to help them develop and design and work with them up until about late 2021, 2020, in that neighborhood. And then they felt like they could take it from there. So I had a chance to kind of back up and look around and see what I wanted to be involved in, and met Toby Keith in 2020 during COVID, became really good friends with him. He was fascinated with the tackle industry, with my story and everything that I'd done. And obviously I was very interested in hearing his stories and, some of the things that he had done in his past. And then in April of this year, Lucky Strike popped up, and we were able to acquire that. But that's a different story. So that's how I got started in the catfish industry.
So now now you own Lucky Strike, and you're doing what do you got products for that?
Well, yeah, right now, historically, Lucky Strike has been, it's in the bass market is mainly where Lucky Strike plays. We do crappie lures, swimming minnow, and lucky bug are products that I can't even tell you how many millions, of swimming minnows Lucky Strike has sold through the years. Jig heads, tackle kits, hard baits. Um, that's kind of where we are right now. I have at my access overseas molds. I've probably got 20 overseas molds for soft plastics right now, and inside the Greenwood facility, I've got close to 150 hard bait and soft bait molds, tooling that has came and gone from 50 years up to this point. So we continue to do business with Walmart. That's our largest customer up to this point right now. A lot of the former employee or the former ownership at Lucky Strike had let a lot of the independent dealers and distributor business kind of go by the wayside. Can't really elaborate on why that is. I just know when we took over, we had one large customer. The Tackle Warehouse is also a large customer of Lucky Strike. So right now, I've made a commitment to Toby that we were going to continue to try to manufacture as many hard bait and soft bait lures as possible in the United States. We've got our import goods as well, but right now the assortment we're working on is around 265 SKUs, and about 150 of those are American made manufacturing. And I had to learn a lot of that when I got there in April. We had to go back in and rehire all those employees. We got a 40,000 square foot facility in Greenwood, Arkansas that we manufacture and ship out of. I've got some tool and die makers in Heavener, Oklahoma that are building and continuing to build and refine and repair molds. We've got a lot going on. And right now, primarily, there's very little new things that we are getting involved in. If you go back and you look to 2015 and 16, and you go back and you look in the catalog, the Lucky Strike, Niemeyer, Renoski were the three brands that were there. That catalog was 60 pages. So we're talking at one point in time, they had around 350 SKUs at Walmart. It was, massive, massive operation. And right now, when we took over, we didn't even know where to buy paint. That's pretty much how bad it was. It was in really bad shape. All the inventory was sold out of the facility. Some of the tooling was there, but some of the equipment to manufacture the products were gone. And I literally had to go back in and rehire some of the key employees that had been there for a long time. I was able to bring in people that I knew that I could trust, that would do a really good job, industry professionals that had either had their own tackle business or had managed millions and tens of millions of dollars worth of business in the past. So I've got a wonderful team of people in Greenwood, which is just south of Fort Smith. We're literally just 30 minutes south of Fort Smith, and we've found ourselves in a really nice area. We're on the very south, kind of western or eastern edge of Fort Chaffee, big Army base there. So we sit on Highway 96 between Fort Chaffee and a whole bunch of subdivisions, and we've got people that live in the subdivisions that come to work at Lucky Strike, and then we've got some people that Toby's sent some people over from Oklahoma City that he's had relationships with. So overall, I think we've probably got about 15 people there now working, and we're about to get through the third American-made hard bait, which is the square bill. We went through there's 12 colors of STX jerk baits. We went through the STX jerk bait. We're on to the square bill. It's about done. We've got the Crappie Magic crankbait. Jimmy Houston Redman spinnerbait is manufactured there. We've ordered the soft plastic injection equipment to manufacture Lucky Bug and Swimming Minnow there. We've got several other hard baits that were there, and I'm telling you, there's just mold after mold after mold after mold of things that I can turn and burn on once we finally get to where what I say my target is ICAST this year, for us to really be able to have a catalog and say, okay, if you want to order all these STX jerk baits, and you want to order all these Redman spinner baits, and you want this many Lucky Bugs and Swimming Minnows and whatever else we have, we'll have the contacts built and the manufacturing operations in place to handle high volume situations. So that's where we are right now. It doesn't go as fast as I would like for it to go, but when you kind of expand out and you look at the big view when I tell you we literally didn't know where to buy paint to paint these lures with, we didn't know what kind of plastic we needed. We literally picked this thing up off the floor, propped it up, and are rebuilding it.
And right now it's mainly bass, crappie, walleye jigs and stuff, or is it some offshore stuff too?
Very little offshore. There's people that use our stuff for walleye, but mainly bass, crappie are the two areas that we're focused on right now. And we've just got so much to get caught up to do just to do that. And we've got some exciting things that we're working on with Toby that are going to be released this year. We're working on, I can't really let the cat out of the bag. I don't want any of the competition to know what we're doing, but we've just got some really cool things that are going on that Toby's he's gonna release on his social media, and we're going to drive a lot of attention to it. And these are staples. These are things that have been at Lucky Strike for a long time. We got a wonderful ambassador in Jimmy Houston.
Yeah, I've seen that Jimmy Houston's a part of it. And like I said, Toby Keith, everybody knows Toby Keith.
Yeah, so Jimmy's been there for a long time. Jimmy's been with a lot of the ownership through the years. And Jimmy's been really supportive about everything we're doing. And I can always count on to bend Jimmy's ear. We've got a new product coming out called the All American Rattler. It's the only rattle style search bait that's made in America, I believe. And you know, Jimmy was instrumental in helping us get the colors and patterns down on that. You know, some really cool features in that product as well.
So you talk about a lot of the bass stuff that you're working on now, and I'm sure, obviously, from when you started into catfishing, I'm sure you're still following it to know, like, a rig now is kind of wild. I mean, it's not the typical hook, line, sinker like I guess it used to be. So a lot of anglers now are using rattles or what they call demon dragons. What's your thoughts on that in the catfish world? Have you kind of following that? Because as a tournament, angler and director, getting to see all these people come through, almost every company now offers some sort of rattle that goes on, above your hook and stuff. But you think that's something that you'll ever get back in the catfishing world?
Right now we just can't elaborate on any of that. It's just way too early. When I tell you when I tell you that I've got opportunities, I mean, I've got customers screaming at me for products right now that I've got to take care of. I got to get Lucky Strike established for, what the core business was there. And until we get to that point, I'm not going to make any decisions on expanding anything out. I do know that, I've spent some time in Cabo with Toby, and I do know that he and I both are very interested in the saltwater market. We both feel like we've been with enough guides and inshore and offshore guides. We've identified some opportunities there that we would like to take advantage of. I've got some contacts in the north, really, really, really good anglers that fish up north that want us to cross over some of the designs of some of the products we have, more for the walleye, and a lot, even dabble into the ice. We've got a lot of work left to do with crappie. I mean, catfish is growing; it's humongous. Crappie's growing, and I think that there's a lot of older bass anglers or some of the bass anglers that just kind of maybe get tired of the fight, that are crossing over into catfish and crappie. That's kind of what I'm seeing there. They're wanting to have a little more fun. And so, I think there's a lot of opportunities out there for those types of guys. So, right now I just can't see doing anything in catfish for a while.
What I guess another question that I wanted to ask is your thoughts on the sport of catfishing, from the 2007, 2008, from tournaments to products. If you go back then, did you think that in 2024 it would be where it is today? Did you think there would be such a growth?
Yes, I did. I really did. When I built Team Catfish, I really felt like the catfish industry was completely underserved. And I'm gonna say something here that I think a lot of people really need to kind of take a step back and think about how you get to this point. But the deal with bass is education. Without education, you wouldn't have armies of bass anglers. So without education on how to target crappie and catfish, you had a bunch of anglers that just wouldn't go do it. They wouldn't go try it. They didn't know how. But here was all this information from BASS and television shows and companies that were putting information out, helping educate anglers on how to catch fish. So, when I first started, I haven't contributed to the Team Catfish YouTube channel hardly at all, but I think there's still 50 or 60,000 subscribers there. At one point in time, they were watching that over 1 million minutes a month. I mean, it was a staggering amount of information. And the approach that I always have when it comes to building products is, I don't ever build I don't want to build things that make things harder than it has to be. I'm not a gimmicky type of guy. I want to build things that make life easier for anglers. And without the education, my sales approach was, regardless of whether you buy my rod or you buy Rippin' Lips or you buy a Big Cat, today in this video, I'm going to show you how to catch a catfish. And I'm going to show you how our equipment works. And I'm going to talk about the benefits of our equipment. And that resonated with people. It still resonates with people. I'm not going to stand in the boat and say, this is what you got to buy because we're the best. That's not what I do. That's not how I operate. So all of the education that I gave to people on what's a dip tube? How do you use dip bait? What's a parabolic bend and a catfish rod mean? All of this stuff that's in those early Team Catfish videos was really the grassroots that all that education helped build that brand. And I think the education in the crappie and the catfish world now, I was doing stuff before Google owned YouTube. Okay. If you can believe that. I learned how to edit video on a 13-inch Mac. I bought a little Canon. I don't know what kind of camera it was. And I edited everything on iMovie. And I would literally go out in the field and I'd get these videos done and I'd bring them back in and I'd edit them on my little 13-inch MacBook, and I'd put them out there. But if I talked about products, I just talked about the product and I explained the benefits and the features of the product. I didn't tell anybody they needed to buy it or they had to buy it or it was the best. And, that type of approach and being a guide all those years, I recognized the kind of information that people needed. They need help. What we're able to do, and we're able to go out and accomplish as tournament anglers is far greater than what your average angler's expectations are of what their average trip is going to be. So, I really wanted to help people catch fish. And then in turn, those people help build my company.
Yeah, that's true. That's something that we're doing with Twisted Cat. We started to do the live on the water. So now during our tournaments, we'll pick 3 or 4 teams that want to jump on and we'll go live with them while they're on the water, kind of showing, obviously I'm not telling people where they're at and all that, but they're kind of showing the person, the anglers that are at home watching. And we started doing a one-on-one kind of tournament deal too. Same thing where everything's on the water, on the boat. So you can ask that angler questions, see what he's using, really try to get that grassroots growth of the sport. As it's growing rapidly, you have, the Twisted Cat main series is $300. So we do a $50 grassroots to kind of get some people that, don't want to maybe spend $300 and fish against some guys that have been doing it for 15, 20 years, but get their feet wet and see if it's something. And most of the people, once they get in the sport, they're like all in. So it's fun. But there's a lot of anglers. We just had Tyler Barnes on last week, and he is like a social media, superstar because he's giving tips. He's not hiding anything. He's showing what he's doing, why he's doing it. So the person that he's got a lot of followers because they're learning how to fish. And that's really helping grow some of these people that are getting big in the sport.
Yeah. That's what it takes. And the other thing, when you asked me, did I think catfishing would be to the point to where it is? We saw the trajectory. Once In-Fishermen started doing what they did, and once some of the television shows started doing what they did, once Bill Dance became involved in catfishing, and you started seeing these catfish tournaments emerge, you could see the trajectory where it was going. So yeah, I think it was always meant to be this way. The one thing that I do want to say that I'm a really firm believer in is I think no matter what you do when you go fishing, you should have fun. And without fun, if you're not having fun, I know there's a lot of people in tournaments that they got a lot of money wrapped up in boats and equipment and all this stuff. And that is the one thing that I can see sometimes that's a little bit of a downfall when it comes to the tournament world is you can get greed can filter in, and people sometimes people aren't quite as courteous. You don't have the sportsmanship that I would like to see. So as much as I like the tournaments and I think tournaments are wonderful, I just want to make sure if I have a chance to voice my opinion, I just want to make sure people have fun. The tournament directors constantly find ways to keep people engaged and have fun, because without fun, we don't have anything. And on all the antis that are out there, all the people that want to take our right away to hunt fish, and there's millions of them constantly working on it every day. Every year, there's more and more people that think catfishing is a blood sport and it's unethical and blah, blah, blah. We have to be united and we have to be fun. We have to have fun. We have to exude brotherhood. We need to, we all need to be in this together. And yeah, competition's good. Competition is what a lot of companies are built on, faster, better, cheaper, or whatever, quality, whatever it is. But we got to have fun. And man, I tell you, in the bass world, I think there's a lot of people that aren't having quite as much fun as they thought that they were going to have. And they've got a lot of money tied up, and the competition is so fierce that I just, I can, the people that I know that fish bass tournaments, if I ask them if they had any fun, I'm not sure that they could answer, yeah, that was a blast today. It's more of a grind,
And I wonder if, because I've not fished any bass tournaments, I've been only doing catfish tournaments, never fished a crappie tournament. But that's one thing that I focus on is, as I'm an angler and a tournament director, that I have fun. So like if I'm going to go to Memphis and drive 10 hours, it's going to cost me a lot of money. But as I always tell people that fish my events, I said, if you're not having fun, number one, you need to rethink things, because you got to have fun. I'm going to go to win 100% and I'm going to put it all in, but having fun is what's important, and then if you win, great. But, and I don't know in catfishing, since a lot of our events have kind of gone to up to 3 anglers in a boat, if that creates a little different atmosphere than like the bass where it's maybe 1, or maybe you got a co-angler. But what I have noticed is, talking with some of the CVBs that help fund these events, Lake of the Ozarks we were just at, they have a ton of bass tournaments. I mean, probably 10 every weekend, or 10 on Saturday and 10 on Sunday. But they, we were at the Blue Cat Lounge, and what they were saying at Alhana, how long the catfish guys come, they bring their families and they make it more of like a fun family event, a getaway. So I agree. I think as it grows, it's still very competitive, but I'm trying to make it not get to where people are, where they can continue to grow and share what they're doing. But so far with Twisted Cat anyways, it's still very fun, and a lot of, especially these new anglers. We had 3 brand new teams that never fished a tournament at Lake of the Ozarks, and they had a blast. One called me on his way home and said, hey, this was so much fun talking to anglers that have been doing this for a long time. And they were talking to me and answering questions I had. And like, that is where, like you said, that's how we're going to get the growth and people continuing to get into the sport. So, but like I said, we're not in those $1 million payouts, but I think it'll get there eventually. But yeah, you don't want it to get ruined.
Yeah,
sure.
And that's my message to the people, not necessarily that fish the tournaments, but to the tournament directors, is don't let it get that way. Do start thinking now about how catfishing can always remain the type of event that what you just described. I think with some I think with some really good good thought process and talking to sponsors and talking to anglers. To, there's nothing in the world wrong at a tournament meeting to ask the anglers what they would think could make the event more fun. Let's talk about one thing that would make this event more fun. What would you like to see? What could you tell your buddy that would bring him out of the house because this was so much fun you would have to come and be a part of it? And I think that's the kind of critical thinking that needs to take place now before you end up with a situation like we have in bass fishing. And there's plenty of people that have a great time bass fishing. I mean, I'm not bashing on bass fishermen. I mean, we're going to sell a lot of tackle to people that bass fish. I'm going to have a heavy focus on people that might, that are pond fishermen too, that are creek fishermen, that are just going out and they're fun fishing on the weekend. There's millions of those people. They're not, not everybody's a tournament fisherman if you're a bass angler. But I just, as prevalent as it is here on the lake, some of the demeanors, they don't exude very friendly people.
Yeah, and I hear that too. And I think the tournament sport of bass fishing has been around a long, long time. Catfishing is still very, I guess, young, very young probably. But I do think it's growing. I mean, if you just go over the last 10 years of Twisted Cat, I mean, it's just not even comparable. I mean, it's just grow and grow, grow. And now you have a 50 boat tournament at Lake of the Ozarks with anglers from 12 states that are coming there. So you have a lot of people traveling, putting time in, putting money in. But to get those grassroots, to get those people in, like how I got in, I would have never, I mean, I grew up fishing at my grandpa's, but other than that, I really didn't fish. But one guy took me out one time and literally changed my life. And I've taken so many people out that for that first time and got them hooked. And like I said, when you take somebody out, it can change their life. I mean, and that's, like I said, take them to a tournament if you can have a third person just to show them what it's about. And like I said, go have fun, go eat at that Chinese buffet in Grove. But yeah, number one, you got to have fun.
It's the whole experience. When you leave to go to an event, it should be the entire experience. Well, that's one of the things that age has probably taught me. I deer hunt a lot. And I spend a lot of time in the fall hunting with my boys. We love to hunt big deer. I mean, that's when it comes to the fall, my boys and I get together and we hunt multiple states. And over the years, I've matured into a different type of a hunter to where now, number one, it's all about spending time with my two boys. Number two, it's about the experience. Number three, it's about being comfortable when I'm there and I'm going to enjoy myself when I'm hunting. And then, the icing on the cake is if you get it done. And I think a lot of people need to kind of take that approach when it comes to, heading out on vacation or going on tournaments. Is number one, enjoy the people that you're going to be around, and appreciate them. I've lost some really, really, really close anglers. I fished with a lot of older fishermen growing up, and I've lost 4 of them in my life that I would love to have another day with. So enjoy that time that you have with those guys that you really, spend in the boat. Look forward to the adventure. If you win the tournament, that's fantastic. Be a gracious champion and congratulate everybody else and look forward to the next adventure.
Yeah, and like I said, with this show so far, we've been having the previous winner. So we had the first place winner from Lake of the Ozarks the week after, and we're not going to go that long tonight, but we went 3 hours and 10 minutes, but really dove into, the Lake of the Ozarks and what he did to catch those fish. And there was a lot of people that tuned in to learn about that. And, he explained how he started, at a young age, and, even some people that get in, they trot line, they bank pull, but then they go out and rod and reel, and it kind of changes them. But yeah, you can't take it for granted. Every time out, you can learn so much. And Again, number one, you got to have fun and then be competitive. So now you've got that going. So I guess what else is next? I mean, you're a pretty busy guy.
Yeah, I am.
Do you
I'm
get
busy.
to fish?
I don't fish near as much as I used to, but that's going to change. I when I had some time off between 2021 and when we picked up Lucky Strike, um, boy, I tell you what, I was somewhat helping those guys help with catalogs and new product development, whatever. But I really enjoyed my time to just decompress. I mean, I was in a I was in a boiler cooker. I mean, I quit my job, had two little kids and a wife, and I mean, if that doesn't motivate you to build a brand and be successful, then nothing will. And my wife helped me at Outdoor Brands. She, I I was able to quit pipe fitting in about 2009, about 2 years in. My wife went back to work when the kids went to school, and then a couple years later, we grew to the point to where she could quit, and then we both just went wide open, and grew it to where we had, I think, 10 or 12 employees there in Grove, and really grew it to the point to where I'd grown the brand to the point to where it was starting to get a little bit out of control, out of my level of expertise. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I decided to transfer the intellectual property on and provide it to somebody that had a bigger operation and could manufacture more, had more capital, had more warehouse space, had more employees, had a lot of the stuff. And I wanted to focus on product development and helping with some of the social media and key account sales and things like that. But I really enjoyed my time off, and I didn't have to fish. I bought a small property in southeast Oklahoma. I've got an old boat down there that I fish in, and just bought another boat the other day, an old boat to fish out of down there. And when you fish as much as I did, and when your entire existence was dependent upon fishing, you raised your kids fishing, you raised your kids in the garage packaging lures, and you just don't I don't have to fish as much now as I used to be satisfied. But now when I fish, I know when to fish, and I know exactly where to go, and I know when I want to, and the sun's going to be shining, and it's not going to be blowing 40. And I've got all of that going for me. But now that you know I've got these new challenges ahead of me with Lucky Strike, you know, I enjoy I enjoy learning about the fish. I enjoy learning about the techniques and the patterns and the anglers. And I mean, I feel like right now I could go anywhere in the country where there was blue catfish, and you could give me a little bit of time and I could catch fish. Okay. I can't say that about some of these other fish that we're selling tackle to people and customers too. So I feel like in order for me to be um, as good as I can possibly be, I need to learn more. I need to learn more about walleye. I need to learn a little bit more about inshore saltwater. I need to learn more about bass fishing. I need to, I do know a lot about crappie from the Flea Fly brand we had. I really sold a lot of crappie products alongside Team Catfish. But I'm gonna spend a little bit more time working with the products that we have. Um, I really enjoy the challenge of learning, um, the business challenge of what been piled on top of me here, which is a lot. This is a lot. I mean, we've got a 50-year-old brand we've got people that are used to have been buying these products for 20, 30 years. And we're trying to get this figured out and get to them. So a lot of the bandwidth that I have on a daily basis that could have been consumed sitting out in a boat trying to figure out, where the next fish is biting, is consumed trying to figure out, what color is the next rattling square bill going to be, and which hook are we going to put on it, and where are we going to get that package, and what employee is going to do that, and so I'm still immersed in it. I'm involved in fishing, and I really like that. I enjoy the business side of fishing. I think that probably kind of quenches my appetite to have to be on the water all the time. Because I'm immersed in it. My son is a full-time guide here on the lake. So
yeah, that's what I mean, how cool is that? Your son is a full-time guide. I mean,
yeah.
Really, you go fish with him anytime you want.
Yeah. Well, when I can get in, he's so dang busy. He's mainly, his big deal is crappie. And he took the platform that I gave him that he had, and he has just expanded his crappie knowledges and his abilities, his hand-eye coordination with the live scope, and then his knowledge of everything that I showed him here on the lake growing up. He has just took that and just 10x'd it, I think.
It's got to be awesome as a parent to see that.
Yeah, it is. And except when you go out in a boat with him now and he just destroys, the old pops just can't keep up anymore. No, it is nice, but sometimes I am a little bit in awe with the amount of fish that he catches and that he brings in. I am proud, but I'm even amazed at his ability, what he's able to get accomplished on a daily basis. I mean, he's at my busiest when I was guiding for catfish. I was catching bait at Lake of the Ozarks, and I was fishing 200 to 220 days a year. 227 days was the most I ever fished in a year. Well, that was 6-hour trips. So I didn't have the ability to do 2 4-hour trips in a day like he does. But, he's going well over 300 trips a year, and he takes off from about the 20th of October to about now to deer hunt. He just pretty much takes off for 6 weeks in the fall. So the kid works all the time. He does a little bit of bow fishing. He does some paddle fish, but mainly it's all crappie. And yeah, he's a busy cat.
So, and he just does, I mean, he just takes those 6 weeks off because he can, but really he could fish. You could probably guide all year there for the most part.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He loses a lot of business in the fall and winter because he's just, number one, you just can't go like that. I mean, you got to have a break, and he needs that break. He's got to recharge his battery. I worry about him. He goes at it so hard sometimes. I mean, 2 bow fishing trips and then 2 crappie trips during the day, and then a bow fishing trip at night, or a bow fishing trip at night, and then a crappie trip during the day, and then another bow fishing trip at night. I mean, and I think, he's going to be 24 this year. I'm going to be 54. He's going to be 24. And I think the new is starting to wear off there just a little. I think I can see a little bit, of, well, maybe I just don't have to maybe I don't have to do that trip this week. Maybe I don't want to put all that bow fishing stuff on and he runs a Sea Arc. He runs a 24-foot Sea Arc. Maybe I don't have to put all the stuff on my Sea Arc this week. And, but whew, boy, I guess to be 23 years old again, be able to go like that.
That's true. That's cool. Yeah, you got a lot of things going.
My other son's he's just turned 20. He's got his glass cleaning business. We've got a lot of glass around the lake. You're going to see a lot of really nice, expensive, very nice lake homes here. Resorts. We don't have near the marinas that you'll see at Lake of the Ozarks. the huge marinas. But there are marinas here. But we have a lot more spaced out private shoreline with a lot of really nice homes. And my son, he's got a window cleaning business, and he's just doing fantastic. He's busy as he wants to be too. He took off this fall as well. And then my wife has finally got to a point to where I think she got completely decompressed from everything we had done at Outdoor Brands, and she had a little property management business going, which she still has a couple really good clients that she takes care of their properties. But last year we got her started in her she's got a day spa here at Monkey Island called VIP Day Spa. So she's an esthetician now, and she does that, and she absolutely enjoys all the people from Monkey Island that come spend time in the day spa. And she's starting to get a really well-known following from people outside the Monkey Island area, from all around the lake. So we've got a family of entrepreneurs here that it's hard to get everybody together anymore.
Yeah, it's true. But you got a lot. Like I said, you live in a good spot there in on Grand Lake, and you're pretty close to Oklahoma City. You're pretty close to Joplin, and you got water literally everywhere you go, which is, like I said, that's just wild.
Yeah, everywhere. I think somebody told me, and I'm probably going to quote this wrong, but if you look at the amount of man-made shoreline miles in Oklahoma, I think it's in the top 5 in the whole United States of all of the water that is the miles of shoreline that are impounded by man-made dams. I mean, there's a massive amount of water here. I mean, one of our lakes in a lot of places is as big as bigger than one lake in the whole state. I mean, it's Texoma itself is 90,000 surface acres. So, I mean, just that thing's just enormous.
Yeah, we're looking at going to Texoma in 25, so pretty excited about that.
Now,
yeah, Michael, I'm pretty sure it's number 1 in the country.
What's that, number 1?
I think how much water you guys got in Oklahoma.
Yeah, well, even Eufaula is a lot shallower lake, but there's 120,000 surface acres in Eufaula, and that's all inside of Oklahoma. That's a lot of water.
That's a ton of water. Well, like I said, we're doing 3 events there. I'm excited about it. Keystone was fun. It was really my first time in Oklahoma. And like I said, we're going back there. And then, like I said, we'll be in Grove here in not this weekend, but next. So hopefully this weather that we've just had, which is terrible, is kind of going away. You said you might see 50 by the end of the week. So
yeah, we're supposed to be on a warming trend tomorrow. I think we're supposed to get in the mid 40s. Big deal will be the sunshine, is getting the sunshine out, churn a little bit of warm water back up. But without seeing a bunch of gulls diving today, usually when we're in a big nasty shad kill, you got gulls diving all over the lake because you've got all the shad and thermal shock. A certain percentage of them float up to the top, and those gulls are out there picking them off. So it's hard to say. We're in Oklahoma. You never know what the weather's going to be. It might be 65 Saturday and snowing Sunday, and this time of year, you just never know.
No, that's true. Hopefully we don't have that, like I said, for our first time at Grand. But Brent's been awesome having us come there, and we're excited. And I'm trying to get down there one more time before the tournament. But again, it's we'll have our $300 100% payback entry for the main series, and then anybody that's wanting to not pay that but get their feet wet, it's a $50 entry, 100% payback. And again, a lot of things. This is the 10th year that Twisted Cat Outdoors is going, and like I said, it continues to grow. The whole sport is growing, and it's fun. We're taking your best 4 events of the season, and we're inviting the top 50 anglers to a $25,000 no entry fee championship in Helena, Arkansas.
Oh, cool.
So a lot of money is starting to really show up in the catfishing, tournament series stuff, and it's fun. But yeah, we'll have to, maybe after this event, maybe even after Kerr, we'll have to jump on again and kind of talk about, what the weigh-in looked like and the results and stuff like that. And um, that's awesome. Like I said, you got so much going on. I'm so happy to hear. Like I said, I've been following you since I was watching those Team Catfish videos years and years ago when I got, started in this. And like you said, and people watching, those how-to videos, just like what Tyler Barnes has done or what Jeff Williams has done, that's what's really helped build their brand, showing, what they use, why they use it, not having to shove your sponsored product, down their throat. People know what you're using, and these are two guys that we've had on back-to-back weeks now that have proven what they've done and get a great following doing it. So,
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to coming back with you sometime. Hopefully, I'll be back from Greenwood. I spend a lot of time in Southeast Oklahoma. Yeah, I'm usually gone a week or two at a time down there. I go back and forth when they'll let me get in the warehouse. Everybody sees me coming. Sometimes they're like, "No, you stay away. You're just going to cause more problems." Yeah. So when the employees let me come in, I go into Greenwood there and enjoy that. But then I spend a lot of time working from my place down there around Podo. And, I do a lot of my work from a home office.
and then you plan on going to ICAST, I assume, again, right?
Yeah, well, we will be at ICAST this year. We're going to have a little bigger booth. Last year, it was hilarious. Last year, we had a banner. We bought this thing in April, and I didn't know Come Here from Sikkim until maybe ICAST. I mean, for us to even have been there was, it was a shocker to me when Toby said he wanted to go, but he wanted to experience it. So we got a 10 by 10 booth. We had a table and 4 chairs, no tackle, no catalog, some stickers, some hard bait keychains, and I think we had like a 3 or 4 foot by 8 foot banner, and we hung it up in the booth. And Toby and Jimmy were there, and I tell you what, there was a line around our corner, people trying to get to that booth to get their picture taken with Toby and Jimmy. And Toby said, "We're the crummiest little booth in this place, and we got more people here than anybody else." So this year we're planning on expanding that out to a little bit bigger booth. Obviously, I want to have a catalog. I want to be prepared to write orders. I want to be prepared to. So many people came up last year. Hey, we're ready to buy this stuff. Where's your catalog? Where's your price sheet? Sorry, we just don't have this yet. And I'm not one to go off half cocked. We're going to have an assortment built, and I'm going to have confidence that we can supply it. And then we're going to make the sales presentations. So it's taken us to the point of, from April of 23 to probably July of 24, just to get the first catalog and put together with the assortment that I wanted, to present.
Yeah, I seen you guys, but you guys were bombarded last year at ICAST with that line. But yeah, I've been there the last 2 years, and ICAST is really awesome. If you've not, had a chance to go, you've probably been going there for a long, long time. But for someone like me to go there, it was pretty cool to see, and the new products that are coming out, and the major brands and all that stuff. So I'm excited to go this year again, and I'm sure it'll be bombarded again. But cool.
Everybody needs to go and experience sometime. If you're sponsored by a tackle company and they need some help, offer to go along and help just to have the experience. Everybody needs to really see it. Everybody needs to understand what the American Sport Fishing Association's about. They need to understand what all the federal excise tax is all about, and why the federal excise tax on fishing tackle and archery equipment is important. And all of that stuff is all incorporated into it, and you see it at the highest level in the United States, and it really makes you go, wow, this industry is something. I mean, this is billions. We're talking billions of dollars industry here, and it really kind of puts it into perspective if you've never seen it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I remember the first time I went, I was just like, wow. And I'm going to try to get there 3 days because you really can't see it all in 2 days. I mean, it's such a big show. There's so much going on. There's even like some classroom settings of different things. Like I said, you could literally be nonstop the whole time, the whole week. So,
yeah,
I'm excited to go again. But, well, Jeff, thank you so much for being on. I know it was a little bit of short notice, but this has been another great show here tonight. It'll be on YouTube again. It'll be on Facebook. You can rewatch us if you're watching it now. Again, thank you for being on. We'll catch up again and kind of go over how the last month or two will go after these next 2 tournaments, and then see what your thoughts are, and then what else you got going on. And who knows, maybe we'll see some Lucky Strike brand stuff in the catfishing industry one of these days.
Hey, you just never know. Yeah, anything's possible. Send me a link so I can share this with all of my friends and followers, and Grand Fishing Report and all that. If I don't see you at the event, if I'm not around, good luck at your event. Good luck to all the anglers that come to the lake. Stay safe and have a good time.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Everybody else, thanks for watching. It's been another Monday Night Live here at Twisted Cat Outdoors. Have a good week. Hopefully the ice is gone, and hopefully we see you at Grand Lake of the Cherokees in Grove, February 3rd. If you have any questions about the event, feel free to shoot me a text, message, or give me a call, and it's going to be a good time. Can't wait to see you. Have a good rest of your week.
Hey anglers, we hope you join us February 3rd at Grand Lake of the Cherokees in Grove, Oklahoma. It's our first time on that lake. We're really pumped about it. Again, we got 100% payback for a $300 entry. We also have our Grassroots Series as a $50 entry, 100% payback. But come join us, Grove, Oklahoma, Grand Lake of the Cherokees. Going to be a fun time, February 3rd. Hope to see you there.